Hello, I'm Jess,
And I'm John.
and you're listening to the Graceless Living podcast. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Graceless Living podcast, and I want to ask John a question. Are you ready, John?
All right.
I want the people to be reconnected with you, so I want a fun fact. Something you've done in the past 2 weeks.
Well, I recently learned that Nutella... Oh, you taught me this fact and I've already forgotten it. What was it again? It was about Nutella. It's something to do with the war. And, oh, that was it. That because of the chocolate rationing, Nutella happened and to, stretch out the chocolate ration. There you go.
Yeah.
Did not know that. So there you go. That's my fun fact.
Very nice.
Here's to pub quizzes during lockdown, eh? Have you got one?
Oh, my fun fact. I mean, I've done a whole quiz of them. Things we should know and that we don't. I think that my fun fact might be...
I put you on the spot now, haven't I?
Oh, yeah, you have. So I learnt my fun fact whilst I was doing some research and some recon for a pub quiz that I was doing on the other Saturday. And one of my questions were, natives to the Caribbean, what sort of animal is a mountain chicken? I didn't know this, and I found out that it was a frog.
I said toad. She didn't give me the point.
I give you half a point.
Yeah, I'm still offended though.
Yeah, but you won by half a point.
Fair enough. Right, so what's this episode about, Jess?
Well, this episode is about creativity, motivation, and work ethic, and how we've been able to do those things being in lockdown or working from home, and how maybe difficult those things have been.
Yeah, certainly difficulty with those in the past few weeks. I had quite a spark of creativity at the start with a lot of free time on my hands, but now things are dragging on a bit. It's becoming a bit more difficult. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm getting a bit of creative fatigue, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my biggest thing, because obviously enjoying writing and enjoying being creative in everyday life and creating challenges, like weekly challenges for us to do and things I would have done normally, have become like really, really difficult to do. And whereas before I enjoyed doing them, now they're becoming more of an effort. But if I don't do them, I'm kind of like going to fall into a pit of despair.
So do you have any tricks or processes or workflows you put yourself through to make sure you get something done? Like, you see them all over the internet, don't you? Like, just work for 10 minutes. Doesn't matter what, just sit down and do work for 10 minutes. That's all you have to do. I've used that one in the past, and invariably you get past the 10-minute mark and you go, oh, I've been sat here for an hour doing that now. I
see. You're a person that has very good willpower. Whereas I am such an airy-fairy character that, like, the top tips don't normally work for a person like me, because that's too structured. That takes the fun out of everything, and I'm doing it because it's fun. So when it comes to being creative, and I mean, my thing was actually do something different that's just as creative. So I haven't been able to...
So if you're not feeling it, just put it aside. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
and do something else.
Yeah, but like for me it's been try something new. Yeah. So you can't write, but what have you got around? Oh, you've got, a nano block, or you've got a book, or you've got some origami or some cross stitch or something else that still has that same creative release, but isn't sucking all the fun out of it.
I suppose it all comes back to the purpose of what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be creative for a job or because you have to in some way, then that's less easy to overcome, isn't it? If you're doing it for your own fun, then yeah, I'd agree. You can just put it aside, do something else if you're not feeling it.
But then you kind of still always have it there in the back of your mind of, well, maybe I should have written a blog post today, or maybe I should have taken a photo of something today, or things like that. And then that guilt can always be there. What about you? How have you been expressing yourself creatively, and what have some of your positives and struggles been?
Well, I recently volunteered to put a video together for a virtual big band for a summer school course I go to and tutor on, and did not and thoroughly underestimated how much work this would be in terms of editing all the parts coming in from the players and putting the video together itself, cutting it, editing it, all the rest of it, and all in all, I'd say 200 or 300 hours of work went into it, and to actually get it done required some serious, come on, sit down and do it. But that's my method. It works for me to avoid procrastination by sort of, I don't know, shaming yourself into it. It's like, come on now, you need to be doing this, otherwise people are gonna be, not very impressed with you or disappointed in you or whatever. Yeah, that's a bit strong, but that's the sort of thing. I want to do myself proud. I don't want to be sat there.
You're sort of like an all-in person, aren't you? You put your all. If you're going to do something, you always say to me, if you've got to do it, you got to do it right, and you've got to do it better than anybody else can do it.
Well, you've got to try, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you don't see a point, do you? And I think it is also that you had people relying on you, but you were also coordinating people.
I had help, but yes, it's there's a lot more than just the technicalities of putting everything together. It's worrying about it and arranging deadlines and naming media and putting it all into folders and making sure you haven't forgotten anything and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's not easy.
So then, tell me, what have you been doing instead of doing something you don't feel like doing, and you've been trying something new instead? What is the new thing?
Oh, my new thing. I suppose it's not really new, but it's something that I've been developing and something I now have time for. And that's cooking and baking.
I can attest to this. Your cooking technique over the last month has been sublime, I have to say. I'm reaping these rewards through and through.
Yeah, you keep complaining at me though.
That I'm getting too fat, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything,
Quarantine 15.
15 stone, you mean?
Yeah, but I think it's like a lot of things that, when you give your all into a job, because I love my job and I try and put as much energy as I can, and then I come back and I try and put as much energy into us as a relationship, and I do a lot of that, and then I kind of like let other things slide. So it all depends on my mood on the day. So I could be putting my all into, right, I'm going to clean everywhere. And then I wouldn't do anything creative or like write, or it'd be like, oh, I'm so tired now, I just have to like put some beans on toast on. But I think it's been nice to like have a bit of time to go, oh well, you can rest your meat or you can take ages to make a special Vietnamese broth from scratch
all the
for
spices,
your ramen dish.
Yeah. I have to say that it makes the difference. That mushroom broth you did the other week was sublime. Very impressed. Yeah. And I'm not usually a fan of vegetarian meals. They're just not quite as good.
In your opinion?
There's
probably some cracking ones out there that we just haven't tried.
Yeah, very, very much so. I find it can be just as good. It's just the effort required to get to the same level is just much greater.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's some amazing potato-based curries out there. I like those.
Yeah, but not jackfruit though.
No, that was
That was a bit shocking, the one I did.
It was not the
That
greatest.
jackfruit curry. It was not good.
I think it's a bit like tofu. It more or less depends on the rest of the meal. You know,
Yeah.
it's not the
Yeah.
central focus, even though it's in the title.
Yeah, my spices weren't right. The recipe that I used cut a lot of corners that I wouldn't have done, and I kind of knew it at the time, but because I always tend to follow the recipe to a T for the very first time, and then the next time I'm like, yeah, no, this is what I would change. But I've really enjoyed doing that, and I've enjoyed like spending hours just like putting some love into those things, and then and I've got to admit, it's not really for me. It's really nice to see, because you're working longer hours and really like heavily, you're by yourself. It's really stressful stuff that you're doing at the minute, so it's nice when you can come in and you've had a hard day and you go, oh, look at what she's made me.
I am very thankful for this. Yes. Yeah. It
But
has
it's
been very
nice that it's one of the reasons, it's a good motivator to do these sort of things. I think that's like the main issue, is that motivation over procrastination, isn't it?
Makes me feel bad though, in all this equal society and all the rest of it, to have the lady spending hours at the stove cooking. It makes me look bad to my friends.
I think if I had a penis, I would do the same thing. I must admit.
Is that something you often think about?
What would I do if I had a penis?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not envious of men.
Well, that's us put in our place, isn't it, fellas? Jess has
No.
spoken.
No, I think it's like, if you look at it like that, yeah, sure, it sounds bad, but that's not our relationship dynamic at all. So I wouldn't have even thought about it that way. And I think, like, if that's something that happens to you as a woman out there, and something that's like, there is such a demand on me to make the dinner because I'm the woman, yada yada yada. Actually, for us, it's just the way our job roles and our time fall into place.
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah. And you would do it for me and have done it for me. And even as much as a hard day of you have, you always clean the mess that I make through cooking up. And I think for me that's equal. We base our relationship on equality, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You been up to anything else?
I have started writing again as of the past 3 days. So what I normally do, my writing process, is normally I'd have gone to work, and because I've got a lovely creative job where I get to try new things and do new things and be in and around nature, and have conversations with interesting people that have done loads of things, and that gives me a lot of ideas. I'm usually going, oh yeah, I'm going to write about this week, I can write about what I've experienced here, or something can form an opinion of some sort that actually I think maybe this is worthy to put into writing. But with not being able to have those influences or that influential space, I really, really struggled to do any writing. And I was like, what do you write about when you're stuck inside and have the same routine over and over and over again?
You have to actively seek it, I suppose. I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of why I bought that book about medieval surgery, and
yes.
and I was just like, oh, let's pick something I've always sort of wondered about and get a bit more detail on it. Can thoroughly recommend it, by the way. It's all about Joseph Lister and the discovery of antiseptics and carboxylic acid and all that sort of stuff, and germ theory, and how before they didn't really connect dirty hospitals with infection and disease, and yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and completely just subjective as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I'm going to learn about this. Why not?
Yeah, but that's a great thing to do, isn't it? Like, I've never done this before. Let's have a go.
Yeah, and I think that is the key, to stop sort of that creative fatigue that we were talking about, is just to make sure you don't burn out and make sure you don't go too far. but like feed yourself new things and interesting things and motivational things. It could be an audiobook, it could be a different podcast, it could be, you know, a film, or, you know, just, I like, my personal thing I like to do is I like to scour Amazon and have a look for crafts. I just type in crafts and see what comes up.
Is this where you got your Buttoonies idea from? Yeah.
This is where the Buttoonies came from. I feel like the whole like origami thing we've done. I was like, oh, origami paper, maybe we'll try origami. And just like board games that we've got.
I've
loads
done
of different things.
Yeah, I've done more jigsaw puzzles than I've done in the last decade, in the last week.
Yeah. Yeah, I have made you do some jigsaws.
It's just not something I enjoy anymore, to be honest. It's just well, there we go, it's done.
Oh,
Move on.
I like the feeling of putting something together, and having an end result. So.
Yeah, so do I, but it doesn't have quite the same magic as Connect or Lego or Meccano or something.
I think you like the mechanical side of those things,
I do.
though.
I do. Yeah, and the fact you can make them into infinite things.
Yes. So, John.
Yes.
What is John's top tip for a positive work ethic?
Well, you put me on the spot again, but naturally, I'm going to go for your environment and having a nice, clean, consistent environment. So what I mean by that is try and declutter your workspace and have a workspace that is for work, and that is it. It was a great video I saw recently that from a YouTuber I know called he's a British guy. Let me just find it. So yeah, it's CGP Grey, and he's a YouTuber that talks all about something, hard hitting topics. And he talked about the coronavirus lockdown and how we all stay sane. And one of the things he talks about is compartmentalizing your life, and have a place for work, have a place for exercise, have a place for sleep, and routine is the killer of insanity and all the rest of it. And I think it's very true. I find coming out of the office and then back into the house when I'm finished with my work, because I'm working from home, is a great way to be able to mentally just switch that off and start thinking about my personal life. And I think that's a source of a lot of stress and anxiety in a lot of people nowadays, is constantly having work ticking over there in their mind when you're cooking, when you're having a shower, when you're exercising, whatever. And you need to find some way of separating the two. And there's various things that help you do this, and it works in reverse. So when you go into that room, into that office or whatever space you put aside to work, make it about that. So don't eat in there, don't sleep in there, don't, try not to take your phone or something into that office space if that's your problem. If your problem is you scrolling through Facebook or Reddit or whatever. Try it. See how it goes.
Yeah, it was really good. I remember when you sent me that, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really good. And what I liked about it was you did talk about not having a lot of space as well, because a lot of people don't have, an office space or things like that. And I have found, actually, okay, yeah, I'm using the kitchen a lot for cooking, but we have a table in there. So I'm sitting in that table is my workspace. The kitchen isn't, but the table is.
Mm.
And started like dedicating specific areas for that, because you obviously have the office, and you're working in that. So for me to do any writing, I've got nowhere to go, apart from that table, and that's the kind of the most officey place in our house, apart from the office. So. And then like for exercise indoors is the same thing. Like I've been doing I bought Mr. Joe Wicks, our PE teacher for the nation. A while ago I'd bought his like exercise 30-minute HIIT exercise videos, and so like I spend a lot of time in our living room, but I've like got a mat, so I put the mat out in the middle of the floor, and that mat's my exercise space, and then when I put that away it's not there anymore, and that helps me sort of break everything down and how do we say that word, John?
Compartmentalize.
I can speak well. Yeah, it does though. It helps me sort of put everything into a nice little box, which is what I need for my creativity. And the biggest thing I think everybody's facing at the minute is, you said it at the start, that we all started lockdown with, I'm going to do so many different things. I am going to finally get in shape. I'm going to finally, learn how to play the piano. I've got all these big aspirational goals that I can reach because I've now got some time, and I'm cutting out, commuting and loads of different things. But I've certainly experienced this, especially in the past week, is like a burnout where I can't find the energy to like push through some of that, creative fatigue that we've been talking about, and I've kind of like burnt out all of that extra energy and that motivation and that work ethic that I had.
Just shows you the grass is always greener, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah.
Our everyday lives might be difficult, and we think it's stopping us doing things, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's something a bit deeper down inside our brains. It's humans are interesting, put it that way.
Yeah, it's been quite reflective of characters as well. Like,
what do we want?
Yeah, and is what we want what we truly want?
Tell you what I want. No. Sorry.
I mean, you seem like Superman comparatively to me, because I
JFDI.
feel really guilty about just like doing nothing. And I know I shouldn't. I know it's very important, but it's like a continuous rolling of doing nothing. And that's not productive or healthy for a person like me. But when I see you're just like the other day when you developed your own film, like you've constantly got things on the go, and it doesn't seem like you're quite there with that creative burnout. Am I wrong to say that? Am I right to say that? How are you managing with all of this?
I don't know. I having a new thing helps, and not to say you should butterfly between hobbies. You just got to do what makes you happy at that moment, I think, and especially for the things that you don't have to do. It's all about enjoying yourself, isn't it? And not worrying about what other people think of you for doing that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there think I'm a complete nerd for, sitting here and doing, developing my own film when in the age of digital cameras. But it's just something I'd like to try, and something I'd like, have a strange fondness for, all the tanks and, measuring cylinders and the chemicals involved, and why not? It makes me happy, and I haven't done it once, but it was certainly fun to be able to get to develop your own film that was taken by this lovely 100-year-old camera that you bought me for my birthday. But there's sometimes where I wouldn't want to do it, and I definitely have felt in the past like I can't be arsed with, taking photographs or editing my own photographs. Using the big camera, I mean, or even writing. So when I post on my own little blog that nobody reads, I'll do it when I feel like it. And I feel if you push yourself, if you push yourself, your the quality of your content becomes stale or just bland. And if you can afford to, you just need to let things flow naturally. See what I'm trying to say?
I completely understand, especially when it comes to writing. I completely understand that. So, my final question to you would be...
Oh, yes.
What advice would you give somebody that was struggling with creativity, motivation, or work ethic, what would be your piece of advice to them?
Just do it, I think. Just do it. Do something, you know? I don't think you need to... People put barriers in the way, and it can be all sorts of stuff. I don't have the time, I don't have the gear, I don't have the knowledge. Well, those are all problems you can, well, most of the time, sort out. You don't have to have the latest and greatest camera to become a YouTuber. You can just use your phone. You don't have to have, some esoteric software to be a photo editor. You can just use the one that's built into your school computer or something. You can make it work, and then when you get better at stuff and you start to learn, then you can you can invest and make it something bigger. And there's so many free learning tools out there. There's not, assuming you have access to a computer, that is. There's not really any excuse for not being able to do something. You can type in, tutorial to anything on YouTube and get yourself going with something. If it's painting, it's mending your car, it's electronics, it's home recording, it's learning to play an instrument. The list's endless. So the world is your oyster. Don't let things and people get in the way of that. Is that profound enough for you?
I think that'd do, yeah.
I don't think it was very profound. It was just what I could come up with on the spot. And yourself? Did you?
Oh.
What do you think?
What I would say, I think, don't beat yourself up if today you can't sit down and do all of the things on that to-do list. Just keep going. Just do as much as you can, or as much as you feel able, and then get up tomorrow and keep going, because eventually that list will get shorter and shorter and shorter until everything's done. And I think stopping and throwing in the towel and saying, that's it, I'm going to do absolutely nothing today, puts you in a frame of mind that could continue on past that day. But if you turn around and go, I'm really not feeling it today, but I'm still going to hoover the living room. I'm just going to do that one thing, and then the rest of the day is my own. And that's kind of just giving yourself that.
That's the 10-minute trick. That is. That's the.
Is that the 10-minute trick?
Just go on. Just do 5 minutes of writing. Doesn't matter what you do. 5 minutes, and then 2 hours later, you'll realise. You're still
going. But it is true. But for me, it's more, don't let yourself get sucked in to letting your days go by and not really feeling like you're accomplishing anything, because it doesn't do your mental health or well-being any good.
Seize the day, is that what you're telling me?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Just give yourself some space and we'll all get through this together.
Excellent. Right, well, we'll leave it there. I haven't got anything else to say, and we're probably boring these people to death as we speak. So I think that's a goodbye from me for now.
Yep, and it's a bye from me. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.